Welcome to Store Brand Comics, the cartoon one. And I'm Tio, and this is Mom.
Hi, I'm Mom.
And this is the video series where we talk about animated movies.
Mm-hmm.
And today's movie, if you couldn't tell by my hat, is One Piece Stampede.
Get it closer.
One Piece Stampede.
There.
So now that we've gotten all the preamble out of the way, let's get started. Take that, I'm not wearing that for the whole thing. So this movie, I'm a pretty big One Piece fan, so I love this movie. Mom, what did you think about this movie?
Well, I wanted to see the One Piece movie because I've heard so much about One Piece, and it's something that Tio would someday like me to create a blanket out of.
Mm-hmm.
But because Tio's wanted me to make a blanket out of the One Piece characters for a while, and I just had a hard time wrapping myself around the characters because they're all pirates. And yes, they're all different, but they're all pirates. You know, I just didn't understand how I could really make them individual other than like Luffy's yellow straw hat, you know, that kind of stuff. And so I've always wanted to see the One Piece.
Alrighty, I guess you want it up.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see the One Piece video and stuff like that. So this was an opportunity, and I think it delivered, you know, on what Tio has always said. He always loves the fact that it's very fast paced. It's well drawn. It's, you know, well animated. That kind of thing. He always says it's very...
The movie especially is very well animated.
Yeah, he always says it's very funny, and it has this very funny moments. There's very funny characters. I definitely... I mean, it seems probably... And the way that you said it to me was this is the most anime of all of the anime movies that we've watched so far.
Yeah.
And I would say probably yes, because... when I think of anime, I really kind of think of this kind of stuff. Like, it's extremely anime.
Mm-hmm.
Very cartoon, very silly, very, I mean, because that's what I always thought anime was. I didn't realize until later that there were different kinds of anime. So for me, this has always been what I thought anime was.
When we started up the movie, because growing up, I watched a ton of Pokemon. And I still love Pokemon. But I
forgot I said
I'm more into the games than the anime at this point. Though if you catch me in the right mood, I will still cry watching certain episodes or certain movies from
sentimentality.
Pokemon. But nostalgia and all that. But when we started this movie up, there was a certain point where she was watching. She was just like, "This is freaking Pokemon."
It is. It's so like Pokemon. And you know, because obviously as a small boy, he always watched Pokemon, so I'm very familiar with that style of cartoony anime. So I guess maybe that's why I always thought that's what anime was.
Yeah, she just reached a point very, very early on, like a couple minutes in. She's like, "This is Pokemon." So like, whenever certain characters would pop up, I kind of started to explain them in terms of Pokemon. Like when Buggy the Clown and his crew first popped up, I basically explained to them, like, this is basically the Team Rocket. And she's like, okay. And she instantly understood who those characters were supposed to be in the movie.
Yeah, so I mean, if you've ever seen Pokemon or watched a lot of Pokemon and you know the characters pretty well, you can kind of link up that same style with this. It's very good. But
this is basically Pokemon with swearing and drinking and pirating.
Yeah,
basically.
And it's very, very brightly colored, so it's visually very fun to look at. One of the things that I liked was the ships themselves. That I didn't realize that everybody in this thing was pirates. I thought that it was just this one particular crew. So everybody's pirates in this movie. And there were so many different ships. So, you know, when I was looking at it as what would I do as a blanket? Every single one of their masts, you know, and their main sail, each has its own particular design. So that would be the easiest way for me to see, you know, because it's so individual. All of them are different. So...
Yeah, every pirate crew has their own unique Jolly Roger.
Yeah, that's what you called it.
Yeah, well, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a...
I'm not all up on the terms.
But yeah, so I will say I personally like this movie a lot, but I don't think it's technically good by itself. This is a movie, because this movie was made a 20th anniversary like celebration of One Piece. And I did what I don't think it's technically good by itself. I don't even think it's technically a good introduction to One Piece, because this was definitely made for people who are already fans of One Piece, because it does its best to cram as many memorable, well-known faces from the show, and there are a lot. One Piece literally has hundreds of named characters who all play a role in the series, so obviously it couldn't fit everyone in there. But,
well, and it doesn't have any time at all. Like, this movie has zero time to explain who anybody is, so you're just kind of taking the characters as they come. It's just all one big flashy show of characters.
Yeah, there are points in the movie where there were certain characters who I didn't even stop to explain who they were to Mom, because like right up at the end, all right, I'm about to throw a name out here for that One Piece fans will know, but there's a character named Rob Lucci who kind of appears here and there throughout the movie. Doesn't really do anything until like right up at the end. And isn't even immediately important until like after the climax of the movie, when things are like coming down from the battle, and like they have to stop him from doing whatever he was going to do after that battle, because they're all fighting over this one thing, this one piece of treasure. And so like there's a moment where after the final battle, all the bad guys that wanted that treasure are rushing for it at the same time, and they got to do something quick to keep him from getting it. And he was among that group, but like he like there's a point in the movie where like he does something big, and I forgot he was even there until he does that big thing, and then it's like, oh, that's right, he's been hiding in the shadows for this whole movie. And then it's like you realize that he was really only there to do that one big thing, because he's an important One Piece character, and you couldn't make a 20th celebration movie without him at least showing up to do something. So it does kind of feel like that, where it's like, yeah, they just threw every character in here, didn't take the time to explain who anyone was because they expect everybody knows.
So as far as introducing One Piece, it's maybe a bit in your face. Because like it doesn't tell you who any of the characters are. Even within Luffy's group itself, I didn't understand who Luffy's group was until Tio pointed out this one, and this one. And then he had to tell me what all the different powers were and what all the different skills, etc. were. You know, about the reindeer who becomes this big lion-looking thing. And
well, more like a Sasquatch-looking thing.
Yeah, it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. But, I mean, like, so there was zero character building.
Yeah.
It's a feast for the eyes just because it's lots of color, right up until the halfway point of the movie. And then they decide to have a battle.
Well, no, actually, the battle starts less than halfway through the movie.
Is it less than halfway through?
I think it starts about 30 minutes in.
Stop it.
And this movie is an hour and 40 minutes.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought we at least got halfway through the movie. Okay, let me just say.
Well, okay, hang on.
Loved
that is the battle with the villain. There's also that big old battle royale section right before that part.
You said that One Piece really is, it's all these people, and then it always comes down to he picks out like this team of 5 people.
Yeah, like
so when we got to that battle.
Oh, okay, yeah. That final battle right there.
Yeah, when we narrowed it down so that there were only 5 characters functioning for the bad guy, going after the bad guy. At that point, my brain died. Just went to sleep.
Yeah, because the fight did go on for a long while. Because the thing about One Piece is the fights last a really long time.
And they don't really do anything. Like, the bad guy stands there like this.
Well, you see, okay, but that's also very much just for the movie, too. Are you...
Okay, so, like that. He stands there that long, like, doing nothing. There's nothing happening. You're just watching the bad guy stand there.
Yeah, well, okay, so that was also...
Tell me I'm wrong!
That was also very much for the movie. Now, there will be episodes where the two of them stand and have an argument before the battle, or sometimes when the two characters need to take a break.
And there was some development of like, oh, hey, we're getting this like weird bomb ready, or we're gonna do this attack, and it's gonna, like they were doing stuff like that too, but it was just, Jesus, take the wheel. Like, this was taking a really long time. So, I mean... Right up to that point, though, the movie was really good.
I had to yell at her more than once to stay awake.
He did.
Because she started falling asleep right at that point. And she hasn't been crocheting or doing anything with her hands while watching these movies. And I finally realized that if her body's not doing anything, it will default to sleep. Mm-hmm. So, she needs to start knitting or crocheting or doing something while we watch these
because
movies.
I'm trying to be respectful of the fact that we are watching this movie together for a purpose. Yeah. Except that at some point... At some point, my brain just goes, "Oh, I'm done."
Yeah. Oh, we're not doing anything. That means you don't need to be awake.
Pretty much. So yeah, it likes to start falling asleep, but like it's always after, like, my brain has absorbed as much as it's going to of what I'm watching. Once we get to the part where it slows way down, and for people who are true One Piece fans, this is where it gets exciting for them. They want to watch this half an hour battle.
Yeah, because the final stage of the battle, I'm not going to call it the final battle because it's all one battle from the start anyway. Mm-hmm. But the final stage of the battle is Luffy, Smoker, Law, Sabo, Hancock, kind of Buggy, and then Crocodile comes in later.
And who's the broad who was like losing her mind? The one with the snake.
Oh, that is Hancock.
She's so in love with Luffy she can't function?
Well, no, that's so her character, I'm not going to call her a joke character because she actually does have like a lot of important functions within the story. She's an important character to the series. But the thing is, she was introduced as this super cold, super full of herself pirate empress is what they called her. And she's one of the 7 warlords of the sea, which means she has to deal with the government. Or she used to. I think she might have ditched that at some point. But anyway, she's a very powerful, important figure in the pirate world. And when Luffy first met her, she hated him because he's a man, and she comes from She comes from an island full of women. And Luffy accidentally ended up on her island after getting launched there by an enemy. Long story there. But, eventually, he,
charmed his way?
Well, no, through several trials by combat, showing that he's, an honorable opponent, and, just being him, she ended up, developing this horrendously powerful schoolgirl crush on him.
Okay. He's 25. Or something like that.
I think he's 23 at this point.
He's got a body of somebody who's done nothing but crunches his whole life, and the face of a 12-year-old.
He's got the face of a cartoon character.
It's weird, okay?
His eyes and...
But they give him a 27-pack stomach, okay?
Well, okay.
This is how ridiculous it is. And I will say, this is heavy on the boobs. Just,
yes, because
in case that's a concern.
Because the creator of the series knows how to draw one woman.
And she got a lot of boobs.
So, yeah. So, but yeah, the thing with Luffy, though, is that, he, at some point in this series, he spent 2 years basically alone on an island training. Because he suffered, a huge failure trying to save one of his brothers, and the brother died.
So this is the time when Luffy lost 150 pounds and came back ripped because he had all this time to spend on himself. I understand.
Well,
I understand.
I don't think he lost 150 pounds.
No. Because overweight Luffy let the guy die. So
Usopp was the one who got overweight in that particular storyline, but that actually happened. I'm not kidding. Usopp had to lose a lot of weight, but
I was joking.
But no, Luffy had just basically spent a little over 100 episodes fighting a war without his crew with him. So
100 episodes, people. 100.
And it involved escaping the island of that snake lady, who fell in love with him, doing a prison break that didn't work, and then trying to save his brother from execution, which he couldn't do.
And these 3 things were over 100 episodes.
Yeah, altogether there were over 100 episodes, and he failed in the end. That's why he needed to go train for 2 years. Right. The 2 years got skipped over, though.
Of course it did. It wasn't like watching Rocky, where we got to see him turn into a champion. Luffy just comes out on the other side, ripped, and he's a champion.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the crazier stuff he can do in this movie is because of that 2-year training. Like when he would turn his arms black, and also that thing at the beginning of the fight where Bullet shows up and he's like flexing his energy, and all of the weaker pirates are like falling unconscious, and then Luffy exerts his energy back and they clap.
Right. Okay. So the blue and the red hits. Okay.
Yeah,
got it.
That is called Conqueror's Haki. Which is something that only a rare few people are even capable of.
That's super
doing.
awesome.
Yeah. So that's why Luffy was the only person there who could match it. He was one of the only people on the battlefield who even had it to reflect.
Okay.
So, but yeah. The fight, as we said before, went on for a long time. I think it's a good fight. It obviously ends with the best move in One Piece, which is Luffy's Gatling attack, which is where he punches repeatedly, and then you see his arms like multiplied 10 times over. That is the that is the coolest move in all of One Piece. Fight me if you disagree. It's one of the coolest moves in all of anime, in my opinion. I just love the way it looks. But yeah, like all good One Piece fights, it ends with that move and Luffy screaming at the top of his lungs. There's one episode of the show that recently I watched where it was almost an entire episode of Luffy throwing that punch and screaming at the top of his lungs, and it was the finale to a fight.
Oh God, kill me. So in true mom fashion, in this part, I'm sitting there going, why are his arms doing that? Why does it look like that? She
nodded off during that, just before that part happened. That was one of the parts where I had to fight her to stay awake. I asked her how the movie ended. She couldn't tell me.
I have no idea how it ended.
Because she was falling asleep.
I was.
So
I'm sorry. If I were to rate this...
well, you probably shouldn't because you didn't see it.
Well, but I can rate it on what I did see. And as far as what I did see, I would give this a solid 7. Because it is fun to look at. The first, whatever section where everybody's all together is very exciting. It's very animated. I thought it was fun. The colors are great. The characters are funny. You might not really know who anybody is or what they're doing, but it doesn't really matter. It's okay. It's fun. After that, where they bring it down to the 5 people and the one broad who's in love with him, it's not as much for me, but I like a little more excitement. So I would just give it a solid 7.
Yeah, for me, I would say
sorry.
For me, I would say a 5 or a 6, if you don't already like One Piece, which isn't, convincing for most people. And an 8 or a 9 if you do like One Piece, because I love One Piece and I really enjoyed this movie. But like I said, it's not like the Dragon Ball Super movie where I feel like someone who isn't into Dragon Ball could probably watch that movie.
Dragon Gumballs.
And enjoy it. And that one has a similarly long final battle, but for some reason that final battle feels a little more interesting than this one, which is weird.
It just has more story to it.
I usually you haven't seen that movie.
Okay, I've seen a Dragon Ball movie.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't seen any Dragon Ball movies.
Just shut me down.
I haven't shown you any Dragon Ball movies.
Okay, fine.
Anyway, but I normally find One Piece fights more interesting because all the characters have different powers, whereas in Dragon Ball, all the fights rely on like what color is your laser beam, what color is your hair, and how loud can you scream.
Oh, okay, maybe I haven't seen.
But for some reason, the fight with Broly in the Dragon Ball Super movie seems just more interesting than Luffy's fight with Bullet in this movie. Maybe it's because they took more time to build Broly up as a character, and Bullet just kind of shows up in this movie.
Yeah, there's zero character.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Super Broly is definitely one that we will cover on this channel. And I think Mom might end up liking that one more because it's a little more superhero flavored. And she liked My Hero Academia.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mm-hmm.
which is in the same.
And I don't dislike
genre.
One Piece. I just won't ever watch it again.
Yeah. But the Dragon Ball Super movie, like literally the second half of that movie is the final battle.
Okay.
But the thing is, there is no excitement or battle beforehand. It's all build up.
Okay.
So that one's a little more even with its distribution of action.
Okay.
Whereas this movie starts at an 8 and cranks it up to 11 and maintains that till the end. So that's just One Piece. So Dragon Ball has always built itself up a little more methodically.
Yeah. And I guess maybe I'm a little bit more used to the traditional style of a movie where we start out with nobody knowing anything. You build the story and then the big thing happens.
Yeah.
We come in balls blazing.
This is definitely less Iron Man, more Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Like where that movie completely relies on your pre-existing investment.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's a fantastic movie though.
Okay.
Endgame.
Oh, it is a good movie. Love it. It's one of my favorites. Definitely.
Alrighty. But yeah, so if you think this video directed you towards an interesting movie, probably just if you're a One Piece fan, then subscribe if you're not already subscribed. That's an order. And next week, we're going to be watching a very important anime movie, like culturally. We're watching Akira, or Akira, depending on how you pronounce it.
Sounds like something I can't fall asleep to.
It's the sort of sci-fi you already watch. Like, you were just watching Minority Report last week. This is more in line with that than it is with One Piece.
Okay.
So, yeah. So we'll see you next week.
All right.
We can see you.
Bye.